Okie dokie, Smokies. So the thing we need to do now, before we build our drawer boxes, is we need to get the slides mounted in this cabinet. And preferably, we would like the slide to be mounted like at this same height or the same level as the drawer frame is. So you can see, so we've got a problem there. As you can see, my fingers behind the drawer slide. We've got this big gap in here. So we need to fill that in with something that we can mount this drawer slide to. So what we're going to do, and I've made up these blocks, we're going to use these to mount the drawer slide to, like so. And then this tab here we'll use to mount this whole unit in the cabinet. Typically, when I do this, what I'll do is I use a piece of 3/4 inch plywood back here, and then I'll use a piece of 2x4 material for the material to use as a spacer. But right now, lumber is just unbelievably expensive. And I happen to have a sheet of OSB. Actually, I got a couple sheets of them out of the garbage. And rather than buying stuff, I just glued up a bunch of this OSB to make these brackets. Now, if I was buying material, I wouldn't choose to do it this way. But since I have this material, that's what I'm going to use. Just like tools, sometimes the best material to use for something is the material that you have. So the first thing we got to do is we got to make these things at the same distance from this cabinet side as the drawer frame is. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, this time I've got my son Charlie helping me out here running the video, and I'm going to show you how we take these and we make these at the right height to install our drawer slide. So what I do is I just put these up against where they're going to go, and I get a pencil and I just scribe it. And that line is where I need to cut to. Right there. And to keep these all straight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number the back of all of these. So this one, I'm going to put a number 1 on. And the way I'm going to number these is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Left to right. So now I got to go down to the table saw and I need to cut this to that line. So that'll be our next step. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rip these down to their final width. We've got a mark on each of them at the end that tells us where to cut, where to set the rip fence at. And we'll go ahead and get this done. And then we'll go start mounting slides to them. Here we go. Alright, on to installing some drawer slides. I've got these in pairs, how they go in the cabinet. So like that. And I just need to know what's the right and the left, and I can figure that. I know which side was the thicker side. So I'm going to go ahead and just screw all of these on, and then we'll go up to start fitting them in the cabinet. Alright, I got my trusty camera operator in over there. Say hi, Charlie.
Hi.
I figured you were going to say hi, Charlie. Well, we're going to put these drawer slides in. This is not a very fun process. That's why I try to do as much. That's why I put the slides on these brackets down in the shop. What we're going to do is we're going to eyeball the bottom of this thing at the bottom of the cabinet facing. I got it there, and I'm going to put one screw in. Then I'm going to get a level. And I'm going to level. Can you see that, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to see the bubble. But yes, let me see if we can see whoever the genius was that put these lights on these drills deserves a medal. It looks pretty level. I think that's real good. So since it's level, we'll go ahead and put some more screws in here. Oh boy. Can barely reach it. I'm going to double check it again, make sure it's level. And I don't like it. It's off. So that means it's a whole lot easier doing this right now while you have access to it. Now that looks good right there. And it still looks good. Okay. And it still looks good. Okay, good. Whole lot easier to do this while you have access to it than later on when you have no access to it. Then it's a real nightmare. So that's how it's done. We just got to repeat it over and over and over. I'll let you see it when it's all done. All right, the other two. Come on, boy. All right. So even a caveman can do it. All right. Now I've got to do the one thing I hate to do. You know what that is, Charlie?
Measuring.
That's right. I hate measuring. So we got to know how wide to build our drawers. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the space in between the drawer slides. Right in here. And that's going to tell us how wide we need to build our drawers. And I've got my drawers numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to start with number 1, which is this one over here. And the way I'm going to measure it is I'm going to use these 2 sticks. And I'm going to set the 2 sticks in between the drawer slides, like so. Can you see that? Sort of. Get my big fat hands out of the way. I just kind of fool around with it until it just fits. Just like that. That's how wide I need to make this drawer. Now I'm going to take a tape measure and measure how wide that is. So, right here, $24.5 on the button. That's number 1. And then we're just going to do that with every drawer. 24.5. And then we'll start figuring out our drawer boxes. So that'll be the next step. So I guess that's the end of this part. And there it is. with its temporary top back on it, with all the slides put in it. And we're ready to build the drawer boxes. So we're closing down on it. Let's talk about drawer construction. There's a lot of different ways you can make drawers, and I've made drawers a lot of different ways over the years. So in this particular cabinet here that I made, I don't know, 15 years ago, see, I used butt joints and I used biscuits because that was during my biscuit phase. I just got my biscuit maker at that time, probably within the last couple of years, and I just used biscuits for everything. So that's biscuited and glued together. It's 15 years old. None of them have come loose. So I'm going to say that's a valid way to make drawers. And here's another drawer. This was like one of the first furniture projects I ever built. And I made the drawers just like my grandpa did, which is a dado, and it's nailed, glued and nailed dado. Really not that great of a way to put a drawer box together, but it's still intact. Of course, these have not been used that much, and it's a little small drawer and a little sewing cabinet. So, probably not the best method, but in something like this, it did work. And to step up from that method would be something like this. So this, again, it's a dado. It's glued. But this time, I'll pull this whole drawer out. This time, it's screwed together. So this is a sewing cabinet that I made for my wife about 10 years ago. And it's held up pretty well. And here is yet another way that you can make a drawer. This is my son's nightstand. Look at all that money he's got in there. But you can see this is dovetailed with a false front. Another way you can make a drawer box. Or you could make half-blind dovetails, like this dresser that my father-in-law made for my daughter. Another wonderful way to make a drawer box. Of course, you can see these were made with a router jig. Or you could make a box with box joints and then glue on a front. So I used like a 1/4 inch thick veneer and glued it on the front of this box. Another wonderful way to make a drawer box. But the kind of joint that I prefer for kitchen cabinets, and in fact a lot of other applications, is what's called a locked rabbet joint. And this is a cabinet in our upstairs bathroom that I made. And you can see how it's made, and it's nailed together. Super simple joint, all made on a table saw, extremely strong. And this is the way that we're going to make our drawers. I've got the sides of the drawers cut to size. So they were 7 inches by 23 and 5/8, I believe. And I've still got to cut the fronts to length, and I've got to figure out what that length is. So we'll do that on camera, just to show how I figure this out. And then we're going to cut those to length, and then we've got to cut our locking tenon joints. So we've got a dado to run in these, and we've got a tenon to make on these. And we'll figure out how we're going to do that. So let's get to figuring out the width of these drawer fronts. I'm trying to do this in a way that you can see what I'm doing. I know that 2 of my drawers have to be 24.5 inches total width. So I just got a piece of scrap wood, and I'm just going to measure out 24.5 inches and put a mark there. Then what I like to do is take a square and put a line. Alright, I'm going to double check that. 24.5 inches. Now, for my total drawer width, I need to subtract the thickness of the two sides. So I have 2 scraps of this material that we made the sides out of. So I'm just going to line that up with my mark. I put another line. So, well, we're this camera. Okay, you see my 2 lines there. So there is my 24.5. And there's the width of my side subtracted. But now I've got to add back a 1/2 inch because I'm going to have 1/4 inch long tenons that stick into the sides of the drawers. So I just go back a 1/2 inch. I'm going to measure that. Even though I hate to measure, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And there we're going to put, there's our length. So basically what we have is like a story stick that shows us how wide those drawers will be. Now, 4 of the drawers are a 1/16 of an inch narrower than that. So we'll just subtract a 1/16 from that, whatever that is. I don't even know how long this is right now. I'm just going to put another one in here. There we go. So that's how long our drawers need to be. So I need 2 of them at the one length and 4 of them at the other. So we'll go ahead and we'll get all our fronts cut now. We'll get them cut to the right length. Alright, just to show this is just a stop. I didn't really explain what that was. It's just a stop that I have for my cutoff sled. It's super simple. Take the clamp off. See how it's made. And I just clamp it on the back of this cutoff sled. And I can repeatedly cut things to the same length. And when you're building things that are supposed to be box-like, it's best if you can to set up some sort of stop to jig, or in other words, I like to say to jig all your cuts rather than cutting to a mark. So if you want to make something accurate, repeatably accurate, it's best to set up some sort of stop. So that's what we have here. All right, so the first part of this joint, we need to cut a groove in the ends of each of the sides. You can see where it's marked out there, so I need to cut that groove 1/4 inch wide and 1/4 inch deep. You could basically use any dimension that you want for this. You could do it 3/8 or whatever you want. Multiple ways of doing this. I'm going to use a dado blade. Actually, I'm going to use a box cutter blade. So I have a dado set. I also have this thing, which I use with my box cutting jig from time to time, or my box joint jig. And the thing I like about this is this thing can cut either 1/4 inch or a 3/8 dado, and there's no fooling around with spacers and different things like you have on a normal dado set. You just put this thing in and it automatically cuts to that width. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this thing in and then I'll show you how the setup looks. Here's my setup. The only problem I have is on this particular old Rockwell table saw that I have, the arbor lock is worn out. So I've got a C-clamp holding the wheel where I want it. I guess I need to come up with some better solution for that. But for right now, we got to get this job done. Here's our setup to cut the tenon, which is just the same blade with a sacrificial fence. And we're just going to run all of the fronts and the backs through this. And we'll be ready to put them together. Here's a dry fit of a drawer box. See the joint? Doesn't look too bad. Before we put them together, what I want to do is I want to cut the bottoms. And what I have for the bottoms of these is this packing crate I got from work. So this one's going to go in the trash. And it's good enough for my family, right? We'll be able to salvage this to make our bottoms of our drawers out of. Not the best plywood in the world, but it'll be plenty fine for this application. Well, this sheet of plywood hasn't got a straight edge on it. And I'm too lazy to take this thing back out to the garage and try to straighten it out with a circular saw. So I'm just going to screw this board to the edge of it and cut it big. And we'll just keep on moving. Alright, let's see if we can get one of these together. I've got this old box of nails, which are ring shank. I'm going to try to put them together with that. I have a feeling it's not going to work, but hey, I need to find something to use these for. Oh, there's our drawer boxes all put together. Guess we got to mount the slides on them. We'll install them and put the drawer fronts on. And I guess the last part of this, which I don't know when we'll get this done, is the countertop. Depends on when my buddy gets time to make it. So let's see what these look like when they're installed. All right, we're installing our drawer boxes, and we've got one that's dragging. So you can hear that. That's the way it's supposed to sound. And the problem with this is the plywood on this drawer box is actually warped. And I don't know if you can see this, but it kind of bows out, and that's where my problem's at. So to fix that, I just need to take a little material off of the inside of the cabinet where the slide mounts, those blocks that we made. So I just take about a 1/16 off of those, and that ought to fix this problem. But if you've ever installed these before, they can be very frustrating. And usually the problems all stem from something being out of parallel or out of square. And the first thing you want to do is check and make sure that your box is nice and square and the sides are parallel to each other, and that the box is the correct size. It's not too big or it's too small. And the next thing to check is the same thing with your slides, that your slides are installed and they're level or square with the face frame, and they're level with each other. And you need to check them this way, and you need to check them this way too. Usually what I do is I just get a board and stick it between them and stick the level on it. And if you've got all of those things right, you probably won't have a lot of problems. Let's go ahead and get on that, on the drawer fronts. Fixed. The drawer faces are set where they're supposed to go. And I'm going to drill a hole in the center and bring some shims up here, and we'll get them where they're supposed to go, and get the drawer fronts mounted to the boxes, and we'll put the knobs on, and we'll be all done with this miserable little project. This is how we install the drawer front. Use a couple of wooden shims and get the reveal the way you like it. And then I drill a hole in the center for the knob. And I take a drywall screw, stick it in there, and I drive that in. And that secures the front to the drawer, so I can pull the drawer out, and then I'll put screws in from the back. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So there's our screw installed. I couldn't do that and hold the camera at the same time. I can reach under and open the drawer. And I'm going to drive 4 screws into the front of the cabinet, into the front of the drawer box, and secure the front on it. So let me show you what that looks like. There's our handle installed. We open the drawer up. You can see how it's put together. Screws in each corner, and then the bolt for the handle just goes through both the false front and the drawer front. Alright, and there's our cabinet completed. Well, with the exception of the countertop. I guess I'll do a little update video once I get the countertop built. But turned out pretty good. What do you think, Julie?
I like it. You
like it? Alright, I guess, you know what do they say? Happy wife, happy life. Right? Alright, so hopefully this has been helpful to someone. Thanks.
It's an amazing cabinet, Dad.
Thanks.